This is the social insurance part. So, who is in the employee health and pension system? Is there anybody who's done?
Killside.
That's right, and I'm gonna explain that part so I can get people to raise their hands a little bit more in a second. Okay, if you look on page 13. There's the four that are written here that we've termed as class 1, okay? Which is basically Kyokai Kenpo. So for example, ECC and Eon are in Kyokai Kenpo. No, they're not, sorry. ECC is in Kyokai Kenpo, Nova's in Kyokai Kenpo. It's just the basic standard health and it's just the basic health insurance, okay? Kenko Hoken Kumiai. So same thing, it's the same kind of health insurance that's gets run through the employer. Eon, you are in it. Berlitz is in it. The next one is Shigaku Kyosai, which is the health insurance at universities and private schools, private universities, private high schools. And the other one is something that's interesting. It's called Chiho Komuin Kyosai, regional civil servants insurance. And from next year, ALTs, some ALTs will actually be enrolled in this kind of system. So looking at that, is there still the same hands up? Is there still, how many people are in one of those 4? Okay, that's good, that's good. And your employer pays half, okay? The employer pays half, you pay half. Does anybody know the requirements? What do you have to, what is the conditions for being enrolled? Does anybody know?
I want to say 20 hours because she works 20, I work 19.
It is 20. Very good, very good. That's thinking, see? 20. It's 20 at employers of over that have 501 plus employees eligible to be enrolled. It's 20 hours, okay? And that changed in 2016. It used to be 30. So for people that are in companies with less than 500, then it is 30 hours. Well, it's not 30 hours. 3/4 of the time of a full timer and 3/4 of the days per month. That can be added up. There's a lot of creative math that can be done using that system. So if you are in a place with over 500 employees, basically 20 hours to get in. Now, some companies, what did they do to avoid this? Well, you have the 29.5-hour contract to get away from the 30.
19.5-hour contracts.
Well, I was thinking for 20 hours they'd have like a morning shift and an afternoon shift. Everybody would work 19.5 hours. That's a little bit crazy. Interact, great example. They split themselves into 6 companies. All of a sudden, a company with, thousands of workers actually said, oh, we're not thousands of workers, we're 6 companies. 7 actually, because the Hombu is still separate itself, right? So they split themselves into 7 companies to get away from the enrollment.
How is that legally viable?
Well, there's 6 different companies, so.
Yeah, but there's still a home boo.
Yeah, but they're not, the people aren't employed by the Hombu, they're employed by company A, company B, company C, company D, like this, right? It's a very tricky way of getting around things. As the 29.5-hour contract in days of old, well, even now, was. You just don't do it. And if you can convince your employees you don't want it, it's not very good, then no one complains. But once we were able to convince people that actually you're losing out. I went one time to a consultation in Salomia School in Berlitz, I remember. And the guy told me, he explained to me how the company had come to him and said, you need to be enrolled now because you're working over X amount of time. And he explained to me how he got out of it. And after we went through what Shakai Hoken is and all the benefits, and he thought, those bastards, they cheated me. Now they know they were trying to get you enrolled. You're the one who thought you were clever and got out of it. We were able to intervene, got him enrolled and things like that. So, it's the health and the pension system together, right? Okay, so if you look over, I'm going to be jumping back and forth a bit here. If you look on page 15, okay, the Nanking system is written in there. Hello. Oh, how you doing? No problem. I kept thinking, when's she coming? When's she was the first person to sign up. The Nanking system is here, and that's the same thing. 20 hours for 500 employees, 30 for less than 500, and you're enrolled in the Nanking system, which is the Kosei Nanking. Okay, so you see before how there was those 4 health insurances. Regardless which one of those 4 health insurances you are in, nowadays, everybody is in that health insurance and Kosei Nankin. Okay? So it's not like there are 4 different pension insurances either. There is the Kosei Nankin. Okay? We'll get into the one later on that if you're not employed through your employer. But let's focus right now on people that are eligible to be employed through their employer. And let's just call that, for now, ease, let's just call that Shakai Hoken for those 2, okay? So basically, what are the benefits? So people know some of the benefits of the health and pension system. Go ahead, just shoot them out at me.
Maternity leave.
Dental.
Just wait a second, hold on a second. Maternity leave? Yes! Maternity leave comes out of the Shakai Hoken.
Dental.
70% of your dental.
Disability.
No. Yes and no. Short-term disability. Let's call it that. In Japanese, it's just called the shobyo teate. Okay? It's up to 18 months. 60% of your wages. So short-term disability.
I stand corrected.
Short-term
I
disability.
have a question. Do you mean benefits of this versus having the national health insurance and national pension?
No, what
Or
does this
benefits of
cover?
versus having
What does
none?
this? What does this cover? What is?
Okay.
Sorry. What does the health insurance cover, and what does the pension cover? And Julie's also right. The pension covers the disability.
Dennis, just on Aaron's point though, because the showbill theatre is not in the company.
Yes,
Nor is mat leave.
Yeah.
that's right. No, or maternity leave. But we're going to go over.
The
those
dental is in
parts.
both, for example.
Dental is in both.
I don't know, it's kind of weird one. When I had my appendix explode, there was a.
Me too, actually.
I hate
Oh,
when that happens.
yeah, I know. Yeah, well, it only happened once. But there was a capitation on how much you'd have to pay, a 2-week stay in hospital, and all the rest. And
That's
it was
right.
Just I think it was 80,000 yen,
Yes.
something like that. Like it was just but it involved City Hall, all sorts of nonsense of payment, and back pay, and all the rest.
Well, yeah, that's right. So even the 30% that you got to pay, even there's a cap on that,
Yeah.
and that's about 70 to 80,000 yen, and it's done through the city and things like that. So Julie mentioned disability insurance. There's actually a calculation for it on page 17.
They're not involved.
That's right. Disability is covered. Long-term disability, short-term disability, health insurance, maternity leave. Anything else that anybody knows about?
Paternity leave?
Pardon?
Paternity leave?
No.
Rats.
That's
Parental
paid,
leave.
That's paid out of the unemployment money.
That's right.
But it's not just paternity leave, it's it puts you childcare leave. You can claim the
Kugyo.
Kugyo, yeah.
So, if you look on page 13, the health insurance benefits are covered there. I'm not going to go through it all because it's written there, right? You might as well go over 13. It's written there. So Simon talked about the differences between what we're calling here Class 1 and Class 2. Okay, Class 1 is those 4 at the top here, and then there's Class 2, which is the Kokumin Kenko Hoken. Okay, now, who is enrolled in Kokumin Kenko Hoken? See, that's a lot of people. It's expensive. You can put your hand down. It's expensive. It doesn't offer you shobyo teate, which is that 60% for 18 months. Doesn't offer maternity benefits during that while you're paying into it. And it really is. It's often more than the Shakai Hoken, the health and pension is paid combined, right? Sometimes we've seen a lot of cases where people are paying more for Kokumin Kenko Hoken, the health insurance portion. They're paying more for that than the combined health and pension insurance over here. Why? Because it's based on your last year's income. So, you know, if you had a good full-time job the year before, and then you go take a part-time job later on, you're gonna pay based on last year's income. Now, the city often is good, you don't got a lot of money, they'll talk to you, they'll negotiate with you, they'll work something out because they don't want people to be left without health insurance, but they don't have to. And not always will they give you this discount, right? So if you can get in through your employer, your best to do that. Now, I'd said before that that the requirement is 20 hours or 30 hours, right? But even with employers that have less than 500 workers, if the company agrees and the workers' representative or a union representing over 50% of the workers of the company signs an agreement, even that employer can enroll at 20 hours. Saying that, how many examples, Toshi, did they tell us?
Oh, just around 7,000 workers in 4,000 company. Probably.
Yes. So there is nobody right now, sort of private companies usually running to enroll you, even if you are not at 30 hours for companies over 500. But the good news is we just came back from negotiations with the government on Monday. Next year they will again, you know, change the health and pension system a little bit. It looks like, we're not sure, they're not going to lower the number of hours. They're not going to go below 20. But it looks like they're going to lower the 500 employee number maybe to 50. So that means
change.
that'll be a massive change. That's a massive change.
But then all they have to do is just split the company again. Like,
Oh yeah, no, exactly, right? You're not, you know.
Companies now.
That's right.
It's a bit difficult though, if you've got thousands to split it into
Smaller.
groups of 50, it becomes an administrative
My
nightmare.
curiosity here is there no reason why they can't simply, I'm going to use the word simply properly implicitly here, like just literally tie it all to the HONGU and like say all parent and associated companies.
Oh, yeah,
if
they
they're
could-
connectable.
It's
Then
the-
that is that many employees no matter how many times you slice the pie.
It's the law, right? So they could do whatever they wish to do. The thing is that, as you can imagine, even at 50, they're getting a lot of employer resistance. So lowering it below 20 right now, so now we get into the case of people who, if you add up all your jobs, people that actually do work over 20 hours a week, but aren't in Shakahoke. Exactly, university people often, right? So we talked about that. And, you know, well, why can't they just add their hours together? Then they'd be eligible and they could be enrolled. They're not, they were very clear about this. You know, often bureaucrats are not clear when they speak, right? But this was like, no one is considering it. There's so much employer resistance, even to lowering the number at this point. Going below 20 hours is not something that we're considering. So adding up the hours isn't a possibility because then that would be looking at below 20 hours at individual jobs.
couldn't they just add up the tax receipts?
Yeah, of course they could.
Like you know what I mean? This is how much I pay.
Oh,
per
yeah,
month.
that's-
Yeah.
If they wanted to do it, if they wanted to make the most effective system, you just wouldn't tie it to how many hours you work or how many people are in a company. You'd say, if you work 1 hour and earn 100 yen, you will give us 18 yen, or whatever, sorry, 9 yen. Then it'd be done. They take 9 yen from the company, 9 yen from you. There's no reason it has got to be at 20.
Well, there is, Dennis, that we have a business-dominated
Well, yes.
government. We've had one for the last
That's right,
how many
that's right.
years?
But in terms of technically, could they do it? Yeah, it would actually be administratively cheaper to do it that way. You know.
I'm sorry, I'm not really clear on how that would be administratively cheaper.
Because basically what you do is you just, at every company, every dollar that's earned, you just be taxed at 9% on it. So there'd be no need for enrollment.
I see.
You would just be in it. You have your little pension book with your number. Well, that's a whole different issue unto itself, whether people like numbers or not. I'm not opposed. I'm from Canada, so. Basically, for every dollar you earn, or every 100 yen you earn, you would be just added as tax, and then it would go on to your thing. So there'd be no need for, does this person, they be enrolled or shouldn't they be enrolled? Everybody is enrolled.
You think like the NHS in Britain, that's sort of like just, the more you earn, the more you pay, the more that goes into that lump. And the
American,
pension
that's
is just,
fascinating.
and healthcare is all.
And then you just go to the doctor.
It's the same in America. You pay Social Security on earnings. No one enrolls you in Social Security. As a worker, your earnings are taxed with Social Security premiums.
Right, but we don't get health insurance out of that.
That's right, but it's exactly for that, the Social Security part, the pension part, right? What can you do if you work over these hours but aren't enrolled?
Scream.
You can scream, join a union.
Join a union is more effective than scream. Yeah.
That's right.
You can do both.
Actually it is. You can make an application at the let's just call it the health ministry, okay, the Nanking Kiko office. You can actually make an application and they'll check whether you're eligible or not. The bad part is, getting back to the hours issue, is often what they say is, well, how do we know if they're working hours or not? You know, so people that interact, the person works from 8:10 in the morning till 4:40 at night, every day, 5 days a week, and Interact calculates that as 29.5 hours. Anybody that can do that math, you'll get a free t-shirt from the union. But basically, if you went to the Nanking Kiko to do the application, the Shikaku Kakurin Seikyu, it's called, just they check if you're eligible to be enrolled. They would say, well, how do we know if that between these two classes here, if that's a break time or work time? Well, I'm working. Yeah, but how do we know? So,
There.
yeah, go and check, and you can see it. We actually ended up having to, the union filed a court case against, I guess at that time it was the Shakahoken Cho, anyways, the people that take care of health and pension insurance. And it was Interact, 29.5 hours. The Shakahoken Cho ruled that the person was not eligible to be enrolled. Luckily, we actually, so the person, the union sued was not Interact, it was the ministry. And we won. It was very clear. The judge said, yeah, this guy's clearly working over 30 hours a week. And the good part, what happened then is that not only did he get enrolled, but his contract said he was being paid for 29.5 hours. When the judge said, actually, he's working 34.5 hours, all of a sudden, this guy now had a claim of 5 hours of overtime each week because the company wasn't paying for that time very clearly. So it actually worked out. It actually worked out in the end for him.
Did that person survive the next contract? It was not just
Yeah.
thrown out the door.
No,
like,
no.
all right.
They were renewed. I guess is the.
I think
So that
if they
really
retaliated,
wouldn't-
that might the company could get in trouble. With that blatant.
Well, if it's one blip on the radar, they can
Yeah.
hopefully try and get away with it. That's it.
And the good thing is because of our involvement too, it would have not just been a civil case of an unfair. It wouldn't have been just a civil case of an abusive dismissal. It would have also been a violation of the trade union laws and unfair labor practice. So I think they most companies are not. What's the word I'm looking for? Reckless. Most aren't. It's the rare bird who's reckless. They used to be, many years ago, when the union was first set up. But it's you don't see the recklessness anymore. It's rare. It's rare now. It's much more rare than it used to be. But let's look at a couple more points. We got about another 10, 15 minutes on this part here. Now we've talked about health and pension a little bit. Like I said, it's very beautifully written in this book. Please go home and read it and things like that. I want to try to mention some things that aren't specifically in here, right? So, if you go on to page 16, it talks about the benefits of the pension system. Okay. Now, the same thing. There is the employee health insurance, those 4 ones that we did, right? And there is the Kokumin Kenko Hoken. Then there is the Kosei Nenkin, which is the brother or the sister of the employee health insurance. And then there is the Kokumin Nenkin. Now, who is not in the employer pension system and is on Kokomin Nenki, who pays it actually. Okay. Good. Now, you gotta pay it. That's just the you know, I'd love to say don't pay it, it's bullshit. But I can't say don't pay it, but I can tell you that it's a bullshit system actually. It doesn't really pay out. You know, the most you're gonna get on the Kokomin pension, if you work 40 years, you're gonna get about 70,000, 75,000 yen a month. Now, on the Kosei Nenkin, everyone will get that part, the 75,000, because Kosei Nenkin includes the Kokumin system, right? The base system. It includes that. Then plus you get whatever you know, your contributions, right? You get more based on the contributions that you paid in over the years. But on the Kokumin system, you max out at 70,000 basically. That's it. That's all you get. So 40 years, and I'll give you a really good example, right? I'm a very big advocate of the health and pension system. Why? Well, I think you can see why. When I ended up in this chair, luckily I was in Shakai Hoken. If I hadn't been, my first 18 months, I received 60% of my wages from the Shobyo Teate, which was great. Now, it's not a lot of money, no one was dancing, but the kids had shoes, the roof stayed on the house, and things like that. After that, I am allowed my disability pension through the Kosei Nenki, right? If I had been on the Kokumin Nenki, I would have received, again, I would have probably received about 65 to 70,000 yen at that point. I received triple that because of the Kosei Nenki. That, it just shows the difference. You know, right there you can see it night and day. You know, basically the Kokumin Nenki system should be abolished, and they should have one pension system would actually be the best situation. Now, you gotta pay. If you don't pay, they come and they knock on your door, and then you say, I'm not gonna pay you, and then they seize your bank account, or they garnish your wages. You gotta pay, but it's not a good system. And it's very unfair to part-timers who work often 40 hours a week, just at different jobs, or part-timers that work 60 or 70 hours a week at different jobs. They end up, you know, basically the people that are the worst off end up in the shittiest system around in that sense. So it's not a good system. Julie.
Uncle Dennis, can you tell us the story about the guy who, from Kyushu, who was dispatched to the Board of Education but wasn't paying into the insurance?
That guy, the guy who they
Yes.
wasn't enrolled. He wasn't enrolled in either. And then one day he got a notice, and he did what a lot of people did with notices that are in Japanese that you can't read. He put it on the table. And then they got another one, and he put that one on the table, and then another one, he put that on the table, and then he got the last one that said, oh, we've just emptied your bank account. And then they emptied his bank account, and he didn't have very much money, so the next thing was they went to the employer and they garnished the wages.
Even though he was dispatched to the same municipality.
Yes. And he should have been in. It's very clear. The municipality knew that under the agreement that they had with that dispatch company, that he was working over 30 hours a week. But they nothing to do with us. But that same municipality now seized his wages for that. So.
Dennis, if they're chasing people up for arrears with Kokumin Nenki, how far can they go back? Because you can only yourself pay 10 years back to
can
boost your
forcibly do 2, I believe. Yes. So there's another part of it too, is that for a long time people weren't the Kokumin Kinko Hoken, they were being, you know, forced to back pay and to pay up and things like that. But people, the rumor was, yeah, but the Nenkin, they won't catch you on the Nenkin system if you're not on. No, it wasn't the government stupid and couldn't find where people are. They know where we all are right now. Basically, the stipulation for the minimum earnings to be forcibly enrolled used to be like 7 million, and then they became 6, and then 5, and then 4, and now like 2.5, which hits the income of a lot of our members. So all of a sudden the rumor was, oh, they're starting to enforce it. No, they've always enforced it. Just that they couldn't force people that were earning less than that before, but now the minimum has come down so far. They want people to be in. There's going to be a pension crisis.
Can people like myself who work in different, can we voluntarily go on to Shanghai Hotel?
No.
You have to be sponsored by an employer.
The employer, again, it's part of that system of, you know, the extra administrative work where you have to, someone has to enroll you. Go ahead.
But the union was able to negotiate a deal with the high school where the part-timers got, you know, she got the Kyosai, right?
Now, part-timers, Shigaku Kyosai, which so again the private schools one, right? There was under the old law, there was no mention of hours, right? There was ordinances about 30 hours, 3/4 of the times of a full-timer. There were ordinances. So basically, a lot of the private schools, you know, they would enroll people that didn't work 20 hours or 30 hours. They would put you in when you had, you know, you were doing 12 hours. A lot of the places, the thinking was this: if you do 3 days a week, we'll enroll you. Since the law changed and the hours got written in, either 20 or 30, they cannot enroll you now. People that were enrolled are safe. People that are new now can't be enrolled, even if they're working the exact same number of hours as someone that was employed 5 years ago and who's in the system. They can't do it. And we raised that on Monday when we met with the government, and they, you know, they're aware of that. That was an unintended consequence. But again, the idea of looking below 20 hours is just not something on their books right now. So they're not even considering it. Go ahead.
What about letting people who don't meet the hours and stuff join, but they pay the whole thing instead of the company paying half?
Yeah.
Because I would like to have the better insurance, even if I pay the same amount that I pay now, right? Even if it's the same, at least I get more benefits.
Yes,
And
100%.
you know, I mean, I'd be willing to do that, and then I don't see why the schools wouldn't do it, because you're paying yourself.
It's not a matter of they won't, is that they can't. Unless you're working that 20 hours a week, they can't enroll you. So even if they wanted to, they couldn't.
So 20 hours is a way of keeping people out, not letting people in?
Well, it was meant to increase the number of people that were in, but didn't take into account really that, you know, 40% of the economy now is, you know, people that are working in irregular types of employment. You know, it didn't really take into account of that, you know, and over the whole economy, right? So no, you can't, even if you said I will pay. Oh, go ahead.
So for example, I have 12 classes at Kindai, which counts as 24 hours.
That's right. You should be enrolled.
So I should be in it, one, and two, I should at least be able to pay it for myself. Put me on it. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to pay for it, then I'll pay for it.
A place like Kindai definitely is over 500 eligible people, so I imagine it's 24 people should be enrolled.
They should. The problem is,
Well,
you know
summer
what's
vacations and stuff,
going to
get all
happen
the time off
That's
in
right.
summer.
I know it's good.
No, it's not the time of the summer. What they'll do is they'll reduce the number of comma to make sure nobody qualifies. So instead of getting 12 hours,
Right.
they'll put you down to
9.
9, yes. They'll bring in a maximum of 9. They tell some people there's a maximum of 8 comma right now. But there is no maximum of 8 comma. The personnel department have told us that no, just faculties decide they don't want to give people more, and they tell them those kinds.
Yeah, according to our university top, there is no limit on coma at all. So even the 12 limit is just imposed by departments, and then departments changed it from 12 to 10 to 8, unless you're grandfathered in, right?
But they probably would cut down if it was going to cost them a load of extra money.
Let me just go to the very last one, and that's the employee health and not the what am I talking about here? The employment insurance on page 21, and then we'll be done. Who's enrolled in employment insurance? It's 20 plus hours, regardless if it's 500, 1 million workers or whatever. Who's enrolled in unemployment insurance? Oh, it's not that many people, is it?
Maybe people don't notice it, Dennis, because it's only a small amount.
Very small amount of money. And most employers, you're enrolled, yes. Most people, again, it is a small amount of money and they don't see it. But again, until the union started a campaign around this in 1999, it's a couple of thousand yen. Even then, though, they did it in the language schools. They didn't do it. There were even universities. Yeah.
Kansai Gaidai didn't do it. We had to force them to put full-time teachers at Kansai Gaidai on the Koyo Hokkien.
That's right. So, you know, and there was a couple of other universities too that we actually had to negotiate with over the enrollment. Why? No, come on. It's, you know, what benefit is there to it? And, you know, they're foreigners and when they lose their job, they're going to go home and they don't really live here. And yeah, that's it. So, but basically, you know, there's more benefits than just 60% of your wages. I say 60% is a round number, right? It's not exactly 60%. If you look at it, there is the benefits start on the bottom of page 21. There's the unemployment benefits and how much you're allowed for, right? There's a table there. There's the child care benefits that Julian, I think, had mentioned before, which is paid through unemployment insurance. Nursing care leave allowance, education training allowance. You know, so there are more things in unemployment insurance than just if you lose your job. There's actually a few better things in there too. So, just one other small one. If you look on page, people are going to ask, how long do I have to work to get my pension? 10 years. But I'm not going to be in Japan 10 years. Why do I got to pay? Bullshit. I don't want to do this. Look on page 17. There's a thing called the Dattai Ichijiki, which is the lump sum withdrawal, I guess is the nice word for it. And it tells you how much you can get back from your pension if you don't qualify for it. Okay, and also be aware at the bottom of page 19, Social Security agreements. A lot of countries now do have agreements with Japan. So don't just think I paid this pension, I'm going back home, I lost everything. You probably didn't lose everything. Okay?
Unless you're British.
That's right. That's right. But that may change too, because I remember when we first started this, there was 5 countries. Now I think it says there's 19 or something. I don't remember the number, but it's always increased, right? So, okay. Thank you very much, everybody. And